Sustainable energy is energy that is consumed at insignificant rates compared to its supply and with manageable collateral effects, especially environmental effects. Another common definition of sustainable energy is an energy system that serves the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet the needs. The organizing principle for sustainability is sustainable development, which includes the four interconnected domains: ecology, economics, politics, and culture. Sustainability science is the study of sustainable development and environmental science. Technologies that promote sustainable energy include renewable energy sources, such as hydroelectricity, solar energy, wind energy, wave power, geothermal energy, bioenergy, tidal power, and also technologies designed to improve energy efficiency. Costs have fallen dramatically in recent years and continue to fall. Most of these technologies are either economically competitive or close to being so. Increasingly, effective government policies support investor confidence, and these markets are expanding. Considerable progress is being made in the energy transition from fossil fuels to ecologically sustainable systems, to the point where many studies support 100% renewable energy. Definitions: energy efficiency and renewable energy are said to be the twin pillars of sustainable energy. Some ways in which sustainable energy has been defined are, effectively, the provision of energy such that it meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sustainable energy has two key components: renewable energy and energy efficiency. Renewable energy and efficiency partnership. Dynamic harmony between equitable availability of energy-intensive goods and services to all people and the preservation of the earth for future generations. And the solution will lie in finding sustainable energy sources and more efficient means of converting and utilizing energy. Sustainable Energy by J.W. Tester al. from MIT Press. Any energy generation, efficiency and conservation source where resources are available to enable massive scaling to become a significant portion of energy generation. Long-term, preferably 100 years. Invest, a green technology non-profit organization. Energy which is replenishable within a human lifetime and causes no long-term damage to the environment. Jamaica Sustainable Development Network. This sets sustainable energy apart from other renewable energy terminology such as alternative energy by focusing on the ability of an energy source to continue providing energy. Sustainable energy can produce some pollution of the environment, as long as it is not sufficient to prohibit heavy use of the source for an indefinite amount of time. Sustainable energy is also distinct from low-carbon energy, which is sustainable only in the sense that it does not add to the CO2 in the atmosphere. Green energy is energy that can be extracted, generated, and/or consumed without any significant negative impact to the environment. The planet has a natural capability to recover, which means pollution that does not go beyond that capability can still be termed green. Green power is a subset of renewable energy and represents those renewable energy resources and technologies that provide the highest environmental benefit. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency defines green power as electricity produced from solar, wind, geothermal, biogas, biomass and low-impact small hydroelectric sources. Customers often buy green power for avoided environmental impacts and its greenhouse gas reduction benefits. Renewable energy technologies. Renewable energy technologies are essential contributors to sustainable energy as they generally contribute to world energy security, reducing dependence on fossil fuel resources, and providing opportunities for mitigating greenhouse gases. The International Energy Agency states that Conceptually, one can define three generations of renewables technologies, reaching back more than 100 years. First-generation technologies emerged from the Industrial Revolution at the end of the 19th century and include hydropower, biomass combustion, and geothermal power and heat. Some of these technologies are still in widespread use. Second-generation technologies include solar heating and cooling, wind power, modern forms of bioenergy, and solar photovoltaics. These are now entering markets as a result of research, development, and demonstration investments since the 1980s. The initial investment was prompted by energy security concerns linked to the oil crises of the 1970s, but the continuing appeal of these renewables is due, at least in part, to environmental benefits. Many of the technologies reflect significant advancements in materials. Third-generation technologies are still under development and include advanced biomass gasification, biorefinery technologies, concentrating solar thermal power, hot dry rock geothermal energy, and ocean energy. Advances in nanotechnology may also play a major role. First- and second-generation technologies have entered the markets, and third-generation technologies heavily depend on long-term research and development commitments where the public sector has a role to play. Regarding energy used by vehicles, a comprehensive 2008 cost-benefit analysis review was conducted of sustainable energy sources and usage combinations in the context of global warming and other dominating issues. It ranked wind power generation combined with battery electric vehicles and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles as the most efficient. Wind was followed by concentrated solar power, geothermal power, tidal power, photovoltaic, wave power, hydropower, coal capture and storage, nuclear energy, and biofuel energy sources. It states, in sum, use of wind, CSP, geothermal, tidal, PV, wave, and hydro to provide electricity for BEVs and HFCVs and, by extension, electricity for the residential, industrial, and commercial sectors will result in the most benefit among the options considered. The combination of these technologies should be advanced as a solution to global warming, air pollution, and energy security. Coal, CCS, and nuclear offer less benefit, thus represent an opportunity cost loss, and the biofuel options provide no certain benefit and the greatest negative impacts. First-generation technologies. First-generation technologies are most competitive in locations with abundant resources. The future use depends on the exploration of the available resource potential, particularly in developing countries, and on overcoming challenges related to the environment and social acceptance. Among sources of renewable energy, hydroelectric plants have the advantages of being long-lived. Many existing plants have operated for more than 100 years. Also, hydroelectric plants are clean and have few emissions. Criticisms directed at large-scale hydroelectric plants include dislocation of people living where the reservoirs are planned, and release of significant amounts of carbon dioxide during construction and flooding of the reservoir. However, it has been found that high emissions are associated only with shallow reservoirs in warm locales, and recent innovations in hydropower turbine technology are enabling efficient development of low-impact run-of-the-river hydroelectricity projects. Generally speaking, hydroelectric plants produce much lower life cycle emissions than other types of generation. Hydroelectric power, which underwent extensive development during growth of electrification in the 19th and 20th centuries, is experiencing resurgence of development in the 21st century. The areas of greatest hydroelectric growth are the booming economies of Asia. China is the development leader, however, other Asian nations are installing hydropower at a rapid pace. This growth is driven by much increased energy costs, especially for imported energy, and widespread desires for more domestically produced, clean, renewable, and economical generation. Geothermal power plants can operate 24 hours per day, providing baseload capacity, and the world potential capacity for geothermal power generation is estimated at 85 gigawatts over the next 30 years. However, geothermal power is accessible only in limited areas of the world, including the United States, Central America, East Africa, Iceland, Indonesia, and the Philippines. The costs of geothermal energy have dropped substantially from the systems built in the 1970s. Geothermal heat generation can be competitive in many countries producing geothermal power, or in other regions where the resource is of a low temperature. Enhanced geothermal system technology does not require natural convective hydrothermal resources, so it can be used in areas that were previously unsuitable for geothermal power, if the resource is very large. EGS is currently under research at the U.S. Department of Energy. Biomass briquettes are increasingly being used in the developing world as an alternative to charcoal. The technique involves the conversion of almost any plant matter into compressed briquettes that typically have about 70% the calorific value of charcoal. There are relatively few examples of large-scale briquette production. One exception is in North Kivu in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where forest clearance for charcoal production is considered to be the biggest threat to mountain gorilla habitat. The staff of Virunga National Park have successfully trained and equipped over 3,500 people to produce biomass briquettes, thereby replacing charcoal produced illegally inside the national park, and creating significant employment for people living in extreme poverty in conflict-affected areas. Second-generation technologies. Markets for second-generation technologies are strong and growing, but only in a few countries. The challenge is to broaden the market base for continued growth worldwide. Strategic deployment in one country not only reduces technology costs for users there, but also for those in other countries, contributing to overall cost reductions and performance improvement. Solar heating systems are a well-known second-generation technology and generally consist of solar thermal collectors, a fluid system to move the heat from the collector to its point of usage, and a reservoir, a tank for heat storage and subsequent use. The systems may be used to heat domestic hot water, swimming pool water, or for space heating. The heat can also be used for industrial applications or as an energy input for other uses such as cooling equipment. In many climates, a solar heating system can provide a very high percentage of domestic hot water energy. Energy received from the sun by the Earth is that of electromagnetic radiation. Light ranges of visible infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, and radio waves received by the Earth through solar energy. The highest power of radiation comes from visible light. Solar power is complicated due to changes in seasons and from day to night. Cloud cover can also add to complications of solar energy, and not all radiation from the sun reaches Earth because it is absorbed and dispersed due to clouds and gases within the Earth's atmospheres. In the 1980s and early 1990s, most photovoltaic modules provided remote area power supply, but from around 1995, industry efforts have focused increasingly on developing building integrated photovoltaics and power plants for grid-connected applications. Currently the largest photovoltaic power plant in North America is the Nellis Solar Power Plant. There is a proposal to build a solar power station in Victoria, Australia, which would be the world's largest PV power station at 154 megawatts. Other large photovoltaic power stations include the Rtracey Solar Power Plant and the Waldpolen Solar Park. Some of the second-generation renewables, such as wind power, have high potential and have already realized relatively low production costs. At the end of 2008, worldwide wind farm capacity was 120,791 megawatts, representing an increase of 28.8% during the year, and wind power produced some 1.3% of global electricity consumption. Wind power accounts for approximately 20% of electricity use in Denmark, 9% in Spain, and 7% in Germany. However, it may be difficult to site wind turbines in some areas for aesthetic or environmental reasons, and it may be difficult to integrate wind power into electricity grids in some cases. Solar thermal power stations have been successfully operating in California commercially since the late 1980s, including the largest solar power plant of any kind, the 350-megawatt solar energy generating systems. Nevada Solar One is another 64 megawatts plant which has recently opened. Other parabolic trough power plants being proposed: the 250 megawatts plants in Spain and a 100 megawatts plant in Israel. Brazil has one of the largest renewable energy programs in the world, involving production of ethanol fuel from sugar cane, and ethanol now provides 18% of the country's automotive fuel. As a result of this, together with the exploitation of domestic deep-water oil sources, Brazil, which years ago had to import a large share of the petroleum needed for domestic consumption, recently reached complete self-sufficiency in oil. Most cars on the road today in the U.S. can run on blends of up to 10% ethanol, and motor vehicle manufacturers already produce vehicles designed to run on much higher ethanol blends. Ford, Daimler Chrysler, and GM are among the automobile companies that sell flexible fuel cars, trucks, and minivans that can use gasoline and ethanol blends ranging from pure gasoline up to 85% ethanol. By mid-2006, there were approximately 6 million E85 compatible vehicles on U.S. roads. Third-generation technologies are not yet widely demonstrated or commercialized. They are on the horizon and may have potential comparable to other renewable energy technologies, but still depend on attracting sufficient attention and road and AMP-D funding. These newest technologies include advanced biomass gasification, biorefinery technologies, solar thermal power stations, hot dry rock geothermal energy, and ocean energy. Biofuels may be defined as renewable, yet may not be sustainable due to soil degradation. As of 2012, 40% of American corn production goes toward ethanol. Ethanol takes up a large percentage of clean energy use, when in fact, it is still debatable whether ethanol should be considered as a clean energy. According to the International Energy Agency, new bioenergy technologies being developed today, notably cellulosic ethanol biorefineries, could allow biofuels to play a much bigger role in the future than previously thought. Cellulosic ethanol can be made from plant matter composed primarily of inedible cellulose fibers that form the stems and branches of most plants. Crop residues, wood waste, and municipal solid waste are potential sources of cellulosic biomass. Dedicated energy crops, such as switchgrass, are also promising cellulose sources that can be sustainably produced in many regions of the United States. In terms of ocean energy, another third-generation technology, Portugal has the world's first commercial wave farm, the Egucadora Wave Park, under construction in 2007. The farm will initially use 3 Pelamis P750 machines generating 2.25 megawatts and costs are put at €8.5 million. Subject to successful operation, a further €70 million is likely to be invested before 2009 on a further 28 machines to generate 525 megawatts. Funding for a wave farm in Scotland was announced in February 2007 by the Scottish Executive at a cost of over £4 million, as part of a £13 million funding packages for ocean power in Scotland. The farm will be the world's largest, with a capacity of 3 megawatts generated by 4 Pelamis machines. In 2007, the world's first turbine to create commercial amounts of energy using tidal power was installed in the Narrows of Strangford Lough in Ireland. The 1.2 megawatts underwater tidal electricity generator takes advantage of the fast tidal flow in the loch, which can be up to 4 meters per second. Although the generator is powerful enough to power up to 1,000 homes, the turbine has a minimal environmental impact, as it is almost entirely submerged, and the rotors turn slowly enough that they pose no danger to wildlife. Solar power panels that use nanotechnology, which can create circuits out of individual silicon molecules, may cost half as much as traditional photovoltaic cells, according to executives and investors involved in developing the products. NanoSolar has secured more than $100 million from investors to build a factory for nanotechnology thin-film solar panels. The company's plant has a planned production capacity of 430 megawatts peak power of solar cells per year. Commercial production started and first panels have been shipped to customers in late 2007. Large national and regional research projects on artificial photosynthesis are designing nanotechnology-based systems that use solar energy to split water into hydrogen fuel, and a proposal has been made for a global artificial photosynthesis project in 2011. Researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology developed what they are calling an artificial leaf, which is capable of splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen directly from solar power when dropped into a glass of water. One side of the artificial leaf produces bubbles of hydrogen, while the other side produces bubbles of oxygen. Most current solar power plants are made from an array of similar units where each unit is continuously adjusted, e.g., with some step motors, so that the light converter stays in focus of the sunlight. The cost of focusing light on converters such as high-power solar panels, Stirling engine, etc., can be dramatically decreased with a simple and efficient rope mechanics. In this technique, many units are connected with a network of ropes so that pulling 2 or 3 ropes is sufficient to keep all light converters simultaneously in focus as the direction of the sun changes. Japan and China have national programs aimed at commercial-scale space-based solar power. The China Academy of Space Technology won the 2015 International Sunsat Design Competition with this video of the multi-rotary joint design. design. Proponents of SBSP claim that space-based solar power would be clean, constant, and global, and could scale to meet all planetary energy demand. A recent multi-agency industry proposal won the SECDEF, SECSDATE, USAID Director D3 Innovation Challenge. Enabling technologies for renewable energy. Heat pumps and thermal energy storage are classes of technologies that can enable the utilization of renewable energy sources that would otherwise be inaccessible due to a temperature that is too low for utilization or a time lag between when the energy is available and when it is needed, while enhancing the temperature of available renewable thermal energy. Heat pumps have the additional property of leveraging electrical power by using it to extract additional energy from a low-quality source. Thermal storage technologies allow heat or cold to be stored for periods of time ranging from hours or overnight to interseasonal, and can involve storage of sensible energy or latent energy. Short-term thermal storages can be used for peak shaving in district heating or electrical distribution systems. Kinds of renewable or alternative energy sources that can be enabled include natural energy, waste energy, or surplus energy. The Drake Landing solar community is illustrative. Borehole thermal energy storage allows the community to get 97% of its year-round heat from solar collectors on the garage roofs, which most of the heat collected in summer. Types of storages for sensible energy include insulated tanks, borehole clusters in substrates ranging from gravel to bedrock, deep aquifers, or shallow-lined pits that are insulated on top. Some types of storage are capable of storing heat or cold between opposing seasons, and some storage applications require inclusion of a heat pump. Latent heat is typically stored in ice tanks or what are called phase-change materials. Energy efficiency. Moving towards energy sustainability will require changes not only in the way energy is supplied, but in the way it is used, and reducing the amount of energy required to deliver various goods or services is essential. Opportunities for improvement on the demand side of the energy equation are as rich and diverse as those on the supply side, and often offer significant economic benefits. Renewable energy and energy efficiency are sometimes said to be the twin pillars of sustainable energy policy. Both resources must be developed in order to stabilize and reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Efficiency slows down energy demand growth so that rising clean energy supplies can make deep cuts in fossil fuel use. If energy use grows too fast, renewable energy development will chase a receding target. A recent historical analysis has demonstrated that the rate of energy efficiency improvements has generally been outpaced by the rate of growth in energy demand, which is due to continuing economic and population growth. As a result, despite energy efficiency gains, total energy use and related carbon emissions have continued to increase. Thus, given the thermodynamic and practical limits of energy efficiency improvements, slowing the growth in energy demand is essential. However, unless clean energy supplies come online rapidly, slowing demand growth will only begin to reduce total emissions. Reducing the carbon content of energy sources is also needed. Any serious vision of a sustainable energy economy thus requires commitments to both renewables and efficiency. Renewable energy are no longer niche sectors that are promoted only by governments and environmentalists. The increased levels of investment and the fact that much of the capital is coming from more conventional financial actors suggest that sustainable energy options are now becoming mainstream. An example of this would be the Alliance to Save Energy's project with Stahl Consolidated Manufacturing, a patented generator shaft designed to reduce emissions within existing power-generating systems, granted publishing rights to the Alliance in 2007. Climate change concerns coupled with high oil prices and increasing government support are driving increasing rates of investment in the sustainable energy industries, according to a trend analysis from the United Nations Environment Programme. According to UNEP, global investment in sustainable energy in 2007 was higher than previous levels, with $148 billion of new money raised in 2007, an increase of 60% over 2006. Total financial transactions in sustainable energy, including acquisition activity, was $204 billion. Investment flows in 2007 broadened and diversified, making the overall picture one of greater breadth and depth of sustainable energy use. The mainstream capital markets are now fully receptive to sustainable energy companies, supported by a surge in funds destined for clean energy investment. Smart grid technology. Smart grid refers to a class of technology people are using to bring utility electricity delivery systems into the 21st century, using computer-based remote control and automation. These systems are made possible by two-way communication technology and computer processing that has been used for decades in other industries. They are beginning to be used on electricity networks, for the power plants and wind farms all the way to the consumers of electricity in homes and businesses. They offer many benefits to utilities and consumers, mostly seen in big improvements in energy efficiency on the electricity grid and in the energy uses homes and offices.